So we've come to the story of the flood, Noah and the ark. I think we're all familiar with the story. And we're going to be, in this study, looking at Genesis chapter 6, 7, and 8. And I want to begin here. It says in Genesis 6, 5, "The Lord saw that the wickedness of man was great in the earth, and that every intention of the thoughts of his heart was only evil continually. And the Lord regretted that he had made man on the earth." The state of the world in the days of Noah was obviously in a very difficult place. So much so that God was sorry he created. A couple of things I want to get into, because these are going to be questions you're going to pour over in the study, is first and foremost, what does it mean that every intention and thought of mankind's heart was evil continuously? Let's start there.
I think it's sometimes tempting to read the text and to think, well, we're at least better than that. But if we're honest with ourselves, as we read Scripture, it says all have sinned. Everyone has fallen short of the glory of God. And so aside from the work of God's grace in my heart, I fit in that verse. Like, there is no part of me that isn't bent towards sin in itself. So I think that's describing a state where, aside from maybe some Noah and a few of his family, no one was putting their faith in God. No one was receiving that work of grace in their heart that turns them from evil towards Him.
Yeah, that's one thing. Another thing that I think would be helpful for us, just kind of introduce in this text, is what is said there in verse 6, and that is that the Lord regretted even making man. What could that mean?
Boy, you could certainly wrestle with that one, and some would say that, oh, look, there's God changing his mind and he doesn't know the future, or he has some sort of defect within himself. And we know from Scripture that's not true. He's sovereign over all things. He doesn't change. He's perfect. He's holy. And I think this is an example where the Bible is using anthropomorphism, a way to describe a spiritual, holy, infinite God with human terms so that we can understand him and relate to him. You know, the Bible describes him having a mouth or an ear, and maybe he does, but this is so that we can see this is what God is like. And I think when it says he regretted or he was sorry, we see the wound and the grieving of God over our sin, over how far we've rejected him and fallen away from what he created us to be.
Yeah, it certainly shows us God's heart towards mankind and who he created. These are just a few things that you're going to be poring over in this study. There are many other questions that you'll go through. So I want to encourage you to go through the questions together in your home group. Thanks so much for being a part of this study.